let's talk about some books. So, in the past 2 weeks, as I have said, I have the goal of reading 30 books in 10 weeks. And I successfully did read 6 books in the past 2 weeks, which is great, which is the goal amount of books for the 10 weeks goal. However, I would like to give you some tips and advice of what I did, and I also would like to speak about the books that I have read, because there has been some good news and also bad news about books that I have read. So yeah, let's just keep reviewing them. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so to see more videos. Yeah, let's just get started. I got my phone and I will go on Goodreads and check what books I have read in the past 2 weeks. And I have read 2 mangas, graphic novels, but I haven't put them in the list yet because I still am trying to study the vocabulary in them. So that's why I will not be mentioning those books yet, but I will do like a recap at the end of the 10 weeks challenge. So keep an eye on that so that you can follow up with the rest. I started the challenge in October, so the first book was Never Let Me Go by Ishiguro, and first of all, the book is good and it talks about something really interesting and intriguing, and that it is something that could happen in the near future, and it is really sensitive. However, I think I started it with a very high expectation because on the internet I have been seeing all of those, oh, this is such an emotional book, it's a great book, and it talks about really serious issues. So yes, it does talk about really serious issues, but I did not like the ending, and I didn't find it as emotional as people made it to be, and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars just because it's a very good written book. It's a good story, it's a very different story, and it's very it's extremely novel, but it's not my personal taste, so I didn't enjoy it as much as I would another 4 out of 5 star book, if that makes sense. And then I read The Ghost of Canterville, or The Canterville Ghost. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It was a collection of short stories by Oscar Wilde. I loved it. It had 2 stories in it. One of them was The Happy Prince and the other one was The Ghost of Canterville. Well, it basically talks about the elephant in the room, and it has different connotations to it, so I enjoyed reading that, but I also did not find it as amusing as I would have thought. So maybe I had a little bit of a high expectation, but I also don't know what I was expecting, so I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. It was a good book. It was not like Oscar Wilde incredible, but it was good. It wasn't bad. And then I read Flush by Virginia Woolf. I really liked it, but I don't think I loved it as much as I did other Virginia Woolf books, because it was a biography of a dog called Flush, and it wasn't as, I don't think that I bonded with the dog at all, so I think that also made it a difficult read for me. But I also read it while I was really tired from work, and I would come home and try to read Flash. So maybe that might be the reason that I didn't enjoy it as much as I did other Virginia Woolf books. But yeah, I don't know. It was good. It was not as good as I thought it would be, but it was good. It was a lovely read. It was like a fall read. It was like this autumnal reads, you know? But it wasn't as amazing as I thought it would be. And then I read Mask by Checo. This book, this story is really good. I loved it, and I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, and I don't know how to describe it, but it's one of those like Checo books where you find so many good things and so many new things, and you kind of like think about your own life and so like, so I really liked it. And I could recommend it 100%. And then I read this book. I started in May. It ended my reading slump. It was such an amazing book. And the only thing I didn't like about this book is that the ending wasn't what I was expecting. Although the ending makes sense and the ending is quite good. When you read the ending, you say, wow, yeah, I could see that happening, because it's very appropriate with the characters, you know, motives and stuff. But I also found it quite disturbing to a point where I didn't enjoy. The climax, you know, have to be that. You know, I had some doubts and questions about it, and I did not like the ending at all. It could have been something else. But I also understand the author's perspective and like author's motives for making it that way. So it kind of makes sense, but it wasn't my cup of tea to like. I mean, the ending, it goes really well and it builds up really good, and the environment and the atmosphere is amazing, and some characters you like and some characters are like really bad people, but you still like them, you still want to learn about them, you still want to follow their journey. But it's quite, like, the ending is quite annoying. At least it was for me. And so I didn't like it as much as I did the other books. So yeah. And the last book I read was the Kamogawa Food Detectives by Hisashi Kashiwai. I am butchering these Japanese names. Anyway, Kamogawa Food Detectives was so beautifully written. It was heartwarming and it was like a really sweet story. So it was about a retired detective going back to... Thank you, fireman.
3 hours later.
The book is about a retired detective who comes back to his hometown to open a restaurant and also a food detective service. And in that food detective service, well, what they do is you go to them, you eat the set menu, I think it's like a bento, and then you ask... I'll just close the window and come back because this is annoying the hell out of me. I'm back. Sorry for the angle change. If you're a customer, you go and you have a bento and then you tell them what recipe you're looking for and you tell them the history of the recipe. So for example, if your mother cooked you like fish and chips when you were a kid, you can say, oh, it tasted like this, it tasted differently, it was like my mom's and stuff like that. So they give you a 2-week notice and then you come back and then you taste what they made and then decide if it's as good as your mother's and if it's the actual recipe. And you follow along this past detective and just basically follow his journey trying to find out recipes. So I really liked it. It was good. But the only thing that I did not like was that it had so many repetitions. It has 4 or 5 stories in it. In each story at the end, it is the same sentences, same questions, same feelings and same like subtext. So I did not like the repetition. And yeah, I don't think that it was a good thing on the book, but I kind of understand how every story is its own and every story has its own repercussions, but I did not like how it was like repeating itself in each story. It could have been different sentences, it could have been made easier, but I did not like how it was almost the same. After the second story, it kind of gets boring and it kind of gets old what the customers are saying and what the characters, how the characters act. It's almost like a sitcom, like in Friends. Chandler might say something over and over again, it is funny, but in this book it isn't funny or isn't really clever at all. It just keeps repeating. It's like making a joke for like 6-7 times and you laugh at it because it's funny, but then he makes it like 6 or 7 times in different contexts and in different places and it gets old. That kind of felt like that, but other than that, it was a heartwarming, really beautiful, really well, I mean, very well written collection of stories. So, well, it wasn't a collection of stories, it was basically a novel, but pieces of stories. So I really liked its concept, and I probably will read the second book of it, but I will just take a break from the Kamigawa food detectives for a little while. And right now, I am reading this book, and I am also reading this book, and this is a poetry book, so it has different kinds of poems. So I'm reading them at the same time. One of them is a collection of short stories and the other one is poetry, so I can read them at the same time. And so I think this is it for the past 2 weeks, and in the next 2 weeks I will upload another video with the books that I have read and with their, reviews. And I hope you liked the video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It would mean the world to me, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye!